that gives me another reason to head to Xi'an next time, another city that I haven't been to in years. After 2 decades, I'm back in Xi'an. First and foremost, 2 things I remember the most: Paomo and City Wall. Andingmen literally means something like gate of stability. The other main gates of the city wall have similar names, such as Changlemen and Yongningmen, respectively something like gates of perpetual happiness and gates of eternal tranquility. Xi'an and its former name Chang'an respectively mean Western peace and perpetual peace. The city's desire for peace is apparent, and it is understandable. After all, as imperial capital, 13 dynasties fought over its dominion. And of course, Xi'an did and still does enjoy plenty of peace and prosperity. The riches of Xi'an attracted droves of foreigners over millennia. For instance, folks of Siyu, or the Western regions, referring to parts of Central Asia. Many of these foreigners would stay in China. They formed massive communities that evolved into permanent settlements. For instance, the Hui Quarter, where we just had Paomo. Halved, and half sort of like this, then rip. As I mentioned in the year ago video seen at the beginning of this episode, part of the experience of eating Paomo, flatbread soaked in soup, is tearing apart the mole flatbread. Celebrated and semi-local author Jia Pinghua jokingly wrote that at Paomo restaurants, patrons pay but don't get fed right away, because before you pao the mole, you have to spend time ripping this apart, preferably to morsels as small as bee heads. So yeah, it's a time-consuming affair, which is why you see people, chatting with friends, catching up with families, or negotiating deal with your client. So eating Paomo is as much about socializing as stuffing your stomach. Unless, of course, you're on your own. Then you could opt for the pre-made machine-cut version to save you the time and hassle. A lot of locals swear by the menu method, while others are willing to sacrifice taste for efficiency. Which tastes better, of course it's subjective, but I think most would agree that hand-ripped mole can take up soup better. I remember an expert explaining that hand-ripped flatbreads have hairy and holy cross-sections conducive to taking up broth, while machine-cut cross-sections tend to be smooth and thus are not as absorbent. You could ask for different amounts of soup in your bowl, but ultimately the overall mouthfeel comes down to flatbread morsel size. And in that regard, the general advice is to go as small as possible. Otherwise, the chef might even return your bowl and ask you to rip up the mole further. Now I get to enjoy the fruit of my labor of about 15 minutes. Oh, this is delicious. But maybe I'm just glorifying it because I helped make it. This bowl was made by boiling the mole pieces in the soup that I'm eating. See how the flatbread morsel is oozing with the goodness. Actually, these aren't really that small. I saw some locals ripping apart their mole, much smaller than these, but small enough that the chef didn't return the bowl. I bet the machine cut more would taste really good as well. That's how good the broth is. You can add a little chili sauce, but most foodies would advise keeping it on the side. And you can eat it with the maw, but don't mix it into the bowl. Otherwise, you change the soup. And you don't want that. You just want to retain the pure meatiness of the broth. Speaking of meat, this is the meat. Thick but tender. Its meat, by the way, is beef, not mutton, which would make this 牛肉泡馍, not the world famous 羊肉泡馍. I hear that actually a lot of locals prefer the beef variety to the mutton classic. But we have that on the table too, and it looks awesome. I'll try it later. It's awesome but low-key eatery was recommended to me by a friendly online stranger that I contacted over a month ago when I was preparing for this trip. He actually gave me several options. I'll list those in the description section for your reference. He seems passionate about representing his city, and his recommendations appear to be quite trustworthy because I've seen others endorsing his other suggestions. We'll try out his other recommended restaurants later. For now, the second part of my first and foremost, the Xi'an city wall. You saw the city wall earlier in this video, and you'll see more of the wall in the next video, because I'm taking a nice long stroll to digest the two delectable bowls of paomo. The earliest form of paomo originated in Zhou Dynasty, but the evolution and popularization of its current form can be attributed to the ancient Xi'an folks who migrated to and stayed in Xi'an, where they found a new home behind the city wall. The cultures of the ancient Xi'an peoples constitute an important part of Chinese civilization. When feasible, come see the real beautiful China. Come to this city of harmony, prosperity, and diversity. We'll certainly see more of Xi'an in upcoming episodes, so remember to subscribe to my channel. 再见!